Most of us have a chapter, a season, or a moment of transition that we have quietly turned into chapter one. We measure everything from that point and often feeling behind or disqualified. But what if your story doesn't actually start where you think it does? I want us to look at the ordinary act of showing up and why that very posture is where your true formation begins. Welcome to Embrace and Become, interior conversations for women becoming. I'm Clara, and in this conversation, we begin from the inside. Hello, Embrace and Become. It's official. You're all welcome. I am super excited to be connecting with you all in this space. This is our very first conversation, and honestly, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, and thank you for showing up. Whether something quietly led you to this, or you simply stumbled across it, or you were invited by someone who shared the link, I really do believe that you've not stumbled across this by accident. So please settle in. The space is yours. I really feel this time of us connecting is going to birth some special moments. We live with so many voices around us and constant movement and constant expectations. And I really do think that we rarely have a consistent flow of settling, really connecting with the inner truth that equips us for our best position in becoming. So I really trust that in this space, we'll be able to connect there, really just have some unhurried time to share with one another. Please, before we go further, can you go ahead and hit follow on your app, wherever you're listening on? Subscribe. Feel free to share this with another woman right now to join in on this conversation. Thank you so much. So we are embarking on a formation arc together, and I don't want you to miss a single step of this journey. So stay tuned, as every episode has its part to play. So let's dig in. In this space, we use two words, and we use them intentionally: embrace and become. And I'm somebody that really likes to break down words. I love to really have the understanding, the root understanding of certain words, and just to really just give a light description of what these words depict. I want us to look at the word embrace. Now, universally, to embrace is an act of inclusion. It's encircling something completely, universally, and it's choosing to take up your reality gladly rather than just tolerating it. And of course, biblically, it's rooted in reconciliation. So let's think Esau running back to Jacob. Let's think the father of the prodigal son. And in that moment, exactly what? It's a posture. It's a posture we're looking at. And it literally was a posture of being embraced, being held, being wrapped inwards. It's the posture of clinging to God, even in the middle of struggle. Just have that in your mind for a little while. To become is the process of growth. To become is the process of growth. And in this space, there's going to be a lot of growing. There's going to be a lot of growing in ways we may have not thought we needed to grow. Or we may have started to. We'll identify, we'll recognize, we will align and redefine and reposition ourselves because of this becoming, because of this process of growth. It's like you have an essence, but it's not really about changing the essence of who you are. It's not about changing the essence of who I am, but it's really about uncovering the new creation that you already are. I want that to sit with you. You're a new creation. And really, it is the renewing of your mind. And that is what I really want us to get comfortable with. Unexposed. We don't have to have it all figured out. I just want us to come to that space where it's truth, understanding, embracing for becoming. So, if there's a renewal of mind, we need to stop conforming and we need to start reflecting. And I say this because there's so many voices, that tell us what to do or show us what to do or tell us how to do it or show us how to do it, and there's much right in it. There may be much wrong in it, But sometimes we just need to sit down, take truth, embrace that truth, and let it give us a strength in perhaps a way that we never have experienced before. So I want us to take ourselves right now and just understand that in order for us to really receive this conversation is to understand that to embrace is to stop running from your truth. It's to stop running from your truth. And to become is to simply let the Holy Spirit finish the good work that He started in you. So once again, thank you for showing up. And more so, thank you for showing up for yourself. You know, I've had conversations with women long after they've come out of a hard season, and it's super amazing to identify the strength that they've had in those particular seasons or events that have occurred in their life. It's just, I find it quite amazing. You know, there's so much strength, and they didn't necessarily realize at the time that they had that strength. And I really question why. And an answer that comes up is really because they were just so busy showing up for family, so busy showing up for careers. And it's for you, this is to you. You can place yourself in this. You've been so busy showing up in your families, you know, in your careers, in your relationships. And it becomes so normalized that we start our story from the struggle instead of the strength. But like a book, your story starts at the foundation, at the core, at the essence of who you are and who you've been created to be. And so you really, really must allow yourself to start from the place you are in essence, but also the person you became by the end of that season or by the end of that event. Because ultimately there has been a process of becoming, and most time we'll come to see that we don't even realize we're going through processes. We're going through things that we may not necessarily choose to go through, but we have to go through. There's a level of refinement. There's a level of refinement in one way, shape or form. And by the time we come out, you're supposed to look different. You're supposed to be different. You're supposed to have become that much stronger, much more courageous, that much more knowledgeable, that much more patient, whatever it might be, whatever your season may have been. You know, we don't just open up a book and just go to the middle of the chapter and start from there. No, we start from the beginning. However, every season, every chapter brings you through a process and brings you to a different place. And in that new chapter, you start from a beginning point again. It's another essence on top of another essence. And so it's literally a continuation of evolving. So even in this space, we're not trying to put pressure on ourselves. So for this first episode, we look at the woman who keeps showing up. We look at the woman who keeps showing up. And, you know, the foundational inspiration for this podcast came from observing the incredible quiet strength of women who master the art of showing up for everyone else. I noticed like a common thread amongst us. We're holding families together. We're building careers. We're carrying heavy responsibilities for the family in ministry. But internally, we're standing in seasons that we have never fully named. Just think about that. It's not to put it down as it's a definite. But sometimes we go through seasons without stopping, that it hasn't really had a time to process the speed in which some seasons go, the intensity in which some seasons are passed in. Sometimes that time has not just been accorded because you had to continue despite of. And so I really just wanted to create an honest and an unhurried space to remind you that your value is not in your daily output. Your value is not in your daily output. And this show is the space where, you know, we can stop measuring ourselves by the chapters that tried to define us, by some of the seasons that tried to define us, and really just finally return to the identity that was established, to the essence that was established before we ever took a step. So I introduce you to a very special woman, and this woman is found in John chapter 4. This woman is the woman at the well. The woman at the well. So we see a woman who came to the well daily. She goes through the same route. She holds the same jar at the same time. And she had arranged to avoid people. It was intentional. So she wasn't looking for an encounter. She was literally just doing what she always did. But even though she kept doing what she always did, even though she kept to that same routine, even though she kept to the same route, even though she kept holding that same jar, even though she kept trying to avoid people, even though she kept to try and just keep moving, the encounter that she didn't found her. And it literally found her in the most ordinary moment of her routine. In the most ordinary moment of her routine. And really we can recognize right there that the shown up she actually dismissed because it was routine. And sometimes this is what happens. It becomes so familiar. She would have dismissed it as nothing. It's just intentionally what she was doing. And she needed to. She had a responsibility in her hand, and she had to fetch water from the place she knew she could go, where she could just avoid everything else that was around her. And that showing up was the very posture that positioned her for everything that followed. Everything that followed the woman at the well came from that same posture of not even knowing that an encounter was about to take place. That's exactly where Jesus met her, at the things she did every single day. Every single day you show up. Every day you're holding responsibilities. Every single day you've got to do your duties. And every single day you're having an encounter that you may not necessarily even be identifying. And sometimes that's just it. Jesus meets us literally in the mundane. Can you imagine if she was speaking from the raw initial reality of a situation? Can you imagine what she may say, or how she may describe a scenario? How she'll describe what she was going through? I think she would say that her issue is simply survival and exhaustion. Because when you show up, those are definitely two symptoms that can present itself unexpectedly, especially if you've been going on speed. And I really do think that if you had sent her to do an honest internal audit on her life based on what we read in John 4, she would describe her issues as probably on distinct levels. From that place that is just the physical reality that she's going through, and then go right down to the hidden, right down to the hidden internal truth. Right down to the hidden internal truth. And that's why I really felt the need to, again, just have this space where we can really go really down to the depths of our internal truths and what's really inside of us, and just be okay and safe and comfortable with asking certain questions, reflecting upon certain things, just a real deep time of introspection from a really safe place. If we was to look at her life and what her issue was on that surface level, just tiredness and fatigue and exhaustion just from her daily routines, she would say, like, my issue is that I'm just tired, and I'm tired. She was out there, she was at that midday specifically because she was avoiding everybody else, and it was super hot, and she's there carrying a heavy jar, and simply because she didn't want to deal with everything around her, but she was still showing up. She was still showing up, and the reality is that her immediate issue was physical exhaustion, and really an emotional weight of just being isolated, whether it was intentional or not. That's what it was. And, perhaps that's you right now. You're physically tired, you're mentally exhausted, and, it's all coming from just keeping up with your daily routine. You can't stop. So you've got to show up for the children. You've got to show up for your siblings. You've got to show up for ministry. You've got to show up for God. You've got to show up, and you just have to keep going and sticking to your routines. Routines can change, but, ultimately it's a habit, it's a pattern, it's something that it's required. And, you're showing up because you have to. You go to work, you're showing up at your job, you're going the extra mile, doing things that others don't see just because the work needs to get done and other people are trying to dodge it. You're showing up in your parenting, and that is 24/7, or at least until they're old enough to start taking and doing bits and bobs for themselves. Or you've got, a supportive spouse that can assist you on that. You've got to shop for your business, my goodness. And that could take a lot out of you, of course. The focus and the intentionality that it takes, just to ensure that a vision is executed, accomplishing an ultimate goal. And, everything is just at a pace that is wearing you out. It's at a pace that's wearing you out. And because you're trying to avoid the judgments, you're trying to avoid opinions, you're trying to avoid the questions, of everyone around, of people around, of what others around are saying or doing, and you're just doing the hard work. You're doing the hard work in your heat of the day just to keep your head down and avoid the noise and avoid what you need to avoid, just so that you can keep moving. Galatians 6 verse 9 says, let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So we're not even supposed to give up. We're not supposed to grow weary. Yet there are things in life that will make you feel weary. Isaiah 40 and verse 29 says he gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. So you're human. You're human, and there are things in life that will just make you tired, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally, whether it's emotionally. You can get tired. Even God, even Jesus says in Matthew 11:28, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And I will give you rest. And some of you just want to feel a moment of rest from some of the daily grinds that you're going through some of the seasons you found yourselves in. You're just looking for that rest. That's on the surface level. On a relational level, I will feel that she was looking for security. I feel like she would say that her issue was really just to keep trying to build a secure life. And, even though everything just felt like it was falling apart, she'd gone through so much. She just wanted that sense of security. And I know that, sometimes probably what was part of her issue was that she was just in a reoccurring cycle of really just trying to find stability and worth, however, on earthly structures, but I can maybe just even say the same thing for you. Perhaps that really is you right now. It really is you right now. It really might be you right now. You find yourself in a recurring cycle where you're looking for stability. Perhaps you're looking for safety or validation, and you're doing so in your career title, in relationships, in other people's approval. We'll touch base on a lot of those things through this series. You're pouring your heart into things to just keep that sense of security, but deep down you really do know that where you're standing right now is a compromised version of the essence of who you're meant to be. It's a compromised version. I love the scripture in Psalm 118 verse 8 that says it's better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in man. Because just trusting on earthly structures, trusting on mere men, it can really tire you out. And like I said, it's can start from one place and lead to a totally different. And with this woman, we're talking about the interior, our innermost parts, that place that you have between you and God, and you and yourself. You can't speak out loud. That's the deepest interior level, and I believe she was there. She really was there, and I believe that she really would have had the thirst. And identifying her issue, she would know is that she was trying to satisfy a deep, an inward longing, but with just temporary and outward things. And, she's drinking from wells that leave her thirsty again and again and again. And the very next day she's there again, in effect, of course. And we know that this can really be symbolic of something so accurate, because even Jesus told her that from this well you will continue to be thirsty. You'll continue to be thirsty. And it was really about just repositioning, or let's start from the recognizing that, so that her perspective could be realigned and redefined, and then she'll be repositioned to really see that there's a way that you can actually quench that thirst by having something that's actually more lasting than what she had. And the reality, is that she was really mistaking a deep spiritual void for a physical or relational need. She was attempting to use a function. She's gathering water. She's staying in relationships to fix a fractured essence, to fix a fractured identity. And perhaps that's you. That's exactly where you find yourself. That's you. And at the core, that's you. You really may just be relating with this right now. And if you do, just take that time to really just try and sit with it, because it could possibly be that you've been trying really hard. You've been trying to fix an internal ache with an external solution. And most time that's how we show up. We're always looking at the outward, at the instant. You keep chasing, perhaps, the next distraction, the next compromise, the next achievement, maybe the next purchase when it comes to daily living. It might be a project that you're just chasing, and you just really believe that in these things, they can finally settle, that restless feeling inside of you, that there's more, that shift you're so desiring, but the next day again, that thirst returns, that distraction returns, that, desire to chase that next achievement returns, that next title. And it really is because you're possibly just trying to use, your daily doings, your daily routines, your daily habits, your daily go-tos, just to heal a part of you that only God can be for you. That only God can be for you. I love, how Psalm 42 puts it. Psalm 42, 1 and 2, I believe. As a deer pants for the flowing streams, as a deer pants for the waters, so my soul longs for you. So my soul longs for you. It just brings the essence of what I'm trying to say. Oh my God, my soul thirsts for God, for the living God. And that you have that recognition even right now inside of you, and He is the one that satisfies. He's really the one that satisfies, that quench, that thirst, that keeps returning. Sometimes it goes, it feels like it's gone, but it comes again. And, in Psalm 107 verse 9, it says, for He satisfies the thirsty and fills the hungry with good things. And that there's a place that you can bring yourself to be satisfied with something better than what is in your current. You're feeling that inner shift wanting to happen, or you felt that shift. You may have had to return back to that shift. So I want to really just encourage you at this moment, just taking in what we've gone through, and perhaps some of the most important and significant aspects of the woman at the well, and redefine the perspective that you may have, knowing that you may have something that you're going through, or you've been through, or you may be about to go into, and just encourage you to not have a perspective, to not have, this way of looking at a season where you would say that this season doesn't count, because you probably could say that about most seasons in your life, through your life's journey, and you'd be saying, I'm just maintaining, but the true perspective is that not one of those ordinary days were wasted. Not one. And we see that with the woman at the well. Not one of those days that you've been showing up were wasted. God's a God that he keeps count of our tossing, and he, scripture says that he puts our tears in his bottles. He's present. He's a very present help in times of trouble. And we will come to understand truly, as it ought to be understood, that he's present in our everyday, even on those days that feel like nothing, even on those days that felt like nothing. You're continuing, in those quiet days, in those unseen days, in those unseen moments when you're doing things that people don't even know you're doing, and you just keep showing up. And really, this is the formation arc already in motion. This is the formation arc that I'm speaking about. This is the formation. So relate on a level. Another example, you're the reliable one. You get up. You're in a family. You get up, you make breakfast. You're the one that checks up on everyone. Someone calls on you, they can depend on you, they can rely on you. You're always present. You're there, but really internally, you're standing in a moment that, again, I said earlier on, that you haven't necessarily or fully named, because you keep moving. I don't know, sometimes it just feels like stopping feels dangerous. Have you ever been in that place? You're you're in a place where it's supposed to be different or go different, and if you stop, it just feels dangerous. So continuing becomes the formation, but the pivot, that we can see is when a woman stays at home in silence. Right? Maybe you've taken a day off work, and something moves inside of you. Something, that is the encounter that you're not expecting that shows up, that comes and finds you. So I really wouldn't even want you to give up, because in the showing up that you almost skip on a daily basis, in terms of, saying, oh, I'm expecting something, what you desire, you do hope for, but I mean, like on a norm, like you become so familiar and it becomes so normalized, something really can shift, just like it shifted for the woman at the well. And it really did shift. It just went to some next level for her, and it can go to the next level for you. She did not know, and you may not know, that the day you nearly miss is the day everything literally is going to begin to turn around. So I want you to hang in there. I really do want you to hang in there. At the point of the episode, as such, there'll be space for questions and processes, and people will have the opportunity. You will have the opportunity to really just ask questions, and I'll, at my level best, answer them. And just to add some more attention to, or just to put some attention to misconceptions, when we're in these type of seasons, and just place a biblical correction, to try and just reframe our perspective so that we can be repositioned and we can find ourselves in that position of a new beginning, and having embraced, however, what we've just shifted out of. And I do think that it will help us. So in rounding on our first conversation, I want us to really try and take whatever's touched you, during the conversation, something may have touched you, have nudged you, have convicted you. And I just want you to take it from a repositioning position. Because when you're repositioned, when your mindset and your perspective, comes from that place where you know everything about you has showed up honestly and genuinely in a moment such as this, I feel that the shift, that interior of you may have shifted in a very subtle and quiet way, and it's really just about recognizing that your origin point was never altered by your chapters. And I really want you to take that away with you. And so I want to encourage you that perhaps moving forward after this episode in the week, or find some time for yourself to check in. And if you're in a constant routine, take the podcast, take Embrace and Become as your reference point to just check in and have those interior still moments with yourself and with God. And I want you to write down the chapter that you've treated as your beginning. Just name it. And I'm talking about chapters that were not from the essence, the beginning, the very foundation, because over the years you feel like you shift away from that, and then every chapter in your life you become more of, you start believing and normalizing that you're more of that chapter. So for now, I just want you to write down the chapter you've treated as your beginning. That may not be your beginning, and in essence, perhaps it's not your beginning. I just want you to put a name on it. That's the essence of this. I just want you to put a name on it. And then I really want you to notice a moment today or so forth where you really have also showed up, despite the weight, despite how burdensome it might be, the season or the situation you found yourself in, or something you've been waiting on, whatever it might be. Just notice where you showed up despite that, and then name it significantly, much more significantly than the chapter you've been treating as your beginning. And I would really love for you to pass this episode to one woman. One woman is all it takes. And if you have many more, please feel free to do so. Just somebody that has been showing up quietly, someone that has been showing up consistently, and, has never had anyone name that enough. For her, I want you to be that person. And I believe that they'll also be able to find that space within themselves, and through these episodes, through this series especially. And it might just be the thing that they need. So this is where we're landing in this episode. Thank you once again for connecting. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for showing up for yourself. Continue to stay connected. Don't forget to follow so you can get the notifications of when the next episode is coming through. You can also follow us on Instagram for more content, and also on our YouTube channel. I sincerely pray that you remember that your story does not start where you placed it. The days that feel like survival were never wasted. And the mornings you got up when everything wanted you to stay down, those days counted as well. You're not behind. You are becoming. Until next time, embrace and become.